Welcome back, everyone. It's good to be back with you. Today we're continuing the reading of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, and we'll complete the chapter today reading text 54 through 72. I love this section in the Bhagavad Gita. We begin to hear about the person fixed in wisdom, right? In the previous verses, we heard about nishkama karma yoga, combining your dutiful actions in this world with the knowledge, of the wise person, and in this way, acting in this world with detachment, acting without any selfishness, acting without desiring the fruits of the work, but being dutiful because it's the right thing to be done, but being reflective as you go through it. That through this action without any materialistic motive, and through this reflection on knowledge as one acts in this world, that their knowledge, their understanding of God, their understanding of the soul, the self, their understanding of this world and how it's moving, and how these three subjects relate to each other, that knowledge can mature this way through nishkama karma yoga into what's called wisdom, into vijnana. The knowledge or the jnana matures into vijnana, and that vijnana is a beautiful state of mind and a beautiful state of existence. Arjuna is attracted to that because he's suffering now. He's experiencing this intense anxiety. He wants that. And so in text 54, he's going to ask Krishna an important question. He's going to say, Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? Right? What are his symptoms? And then he's going to ask it in three other ways. He's going to say, how does he speak? How does he sit? And how does he walk? And these questions are being asked not exactly literally, but figuratively, right? When Arjuna is asking, how does he speak? He means, how does he respond to how he's being treated in this world? And when he says, how does he sit? How does he withdraw his senses when he's inactive in this world? And when he says, how does he walk? He means, how does he engage his senses when he is active in this world? How can you be a yogi under all different circumstances? What does that consciousness look like? And so the rest of the chapter, after this question is asked, he says, again, what are symptoms? How does he speak? How does he respond to how this world treats him? How does he withdraw his senses when he's inactive? How does he engage the senses when he's active? The rest of the chapter will be answering these questions. And it begins in a beautiful way. We should also note the language that Arjuna used here. He's using this word sthita. Krishna's been using the word. It means fixed, steady, or fixed. He says Sthita-prajña, one who's fixed in wisdom. And then he says samadhi stasya, one who's fixed in trance, fixed in samadhi. And then he says sthita-di, one who's fixed in meditation, right? His mind is just so disturbed and going here and there. And that's the situation for most people. We're happy one moment, and then we're depressed, we're excited, and then we're bored, we're elated, and then we're not, And so he's looking for that peaceful mind. He wants to hear more about that person. Krishna begins to answer that in text 55. First, he speaks to the symptoms. What are the symptoms of such a person? Krishna says, when a person gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, that comes with the knowledge, the detachment comes, right? Which arise from mental concoction. They recognize that these desires in me have been programmed in my mind. It's not me. I can sit here and look at my mind and look at how it's programmed and look how it's wanting to get this and wanting to avoid that. It's got attachment, it's got aversion. One who's let that go. And when their mind is thus purified, they find satisfaction in the self alone, right? In the soul. They find it internally. Krishna says these are the symptoms of one who's in this pure transcendental consciousness, right? Sthita-prajña is the term that he used, referring to Arjuna's question. And then he begins to talk about how he speaks. But again, in this next one, he says the sthita-dhir, right? One who's fixed in a peaceful mind, right? Fixed in meditation. Krishna says, one who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, all the miseries of this world, or elated when there's happiness, when there's good news, who is free from attachment, fear, and anger. We're going to hear that phrase repeated in the Bhagavad Gita. That person is called a Sthita-prajña, a sage of steady mind, right? A wise person. This is the stage of wisdom, right? And then how does he, here we'll hear, about how does he speak in the material world. One who is unaffected by whatever good or evil they may attain, whatever pleasures or comforts come their way, or whatever unpleasant things come their way. Neither praising it nor despising it. This is how they speak, right? Neither praising it nor despising it. That person is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. Think about this. Think about complaining. Oh, the weather's so bad. Oh, I've got this problem. Oh, these people aren't nice to me. Oh, this person isn't like that, right? Or even, oh, this thing happened. I'm super excited. I'm super late. No, I know that the world is going up and down all the time, and I'm moving steadily through it. I'm not praising it. I'm not criticizing it, right? This is how, Arjuna, this is how the Sthita-prajña, this is how the wise person moves through this world. And so I'm not going to read all the verses, although it's so tempting to. And in future months, we'll focus on smaller parts of the Bhagavad Gita and go deeper into it. This month, we're reading the entire Bhagavad Gita. But the next question is, how does he sit? How does he withdraw his senses when he's inactive in this world? And we can read text 58 and 59. He uses a nice analogy here in text 58. One who is able to withdraw his senses from the sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Think about this. Think about times where your senses are going places that are not beneficial for your yoga, that are not beneficial for your steadiness of mind, for your peace of mind. Our eyes are programmed to want to see certain forms. Our ears want certain sounds. Our tongue wants certain taste. Do we have the ability to say, I'm going to withdraw it, I'm going to pull it back in? Or do we become controlled by it? And this is actually going to become one of the most important themes of the verses that are coming up now. It really gets laid out. If your senses aren't under your control, then they will control you. This is the point that, it's a point that Krishna is going to be laying out. We're not going to read all these verses, but it's an important theme in this last part of the second chapter of the Gita. You need to control your senses. A yogi gets them under control. If they're not under control, they will control you. And then you won't have any peace. So he says you have to be like this tortoise. The tortoise can pull its limbs into the shell. Can you pull your eyes back? Can you pull your ears in? Can you pull your tongue in? Can you get your senses under control? And then in text 59, he gives a clue about how that's done. He says, although the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, we may practice yoga and say, I'm not going to engage my senses in this way or that way, or all these ways that I've done in the past. I've done that externally, but internally the taste for sense objects still remains. My mind is still programmed to want them. How do I overcome it? He says, but ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste. Padam dristva nirvartate. In this way, these pullings cease and one becomes fixed in consciousness. The big clue to life there, big clue for the yogi. How am I going to experience that higher taste? And in text 61, we get a big clue about that. I wanted to draw your attention to this because this, I mentioned in a video yesterday about kind of like this ladder to love, that there's the stage of duty, and there's the stage of knowledge, and hopefully that knowledge, we can mature it through yoga to the point of wisdom, where I become detached, I become peaceful. Getting to that state, and then when I have that peaceful mind, then I can absorb my mind deeply, and through absorption, it can mature into love. But what are you absorbed in? Krishna is now going to give us the focus for meditation, and there's many. We'll see this this dynamic throughout the Gita in different chapters. There'll be a lot of verses that are read, that could be read in a way that's similar to much of the Upanishads, where they're speaking about spirituality, but they're not really quite on the bhakti level yet. But Krishna is going to identify the object of meditation and bring it to the level of bhakti. He'll throw one verse in there where he'll use the word mam, me, or mat, on, me. And I call this, we have duty, knowledge, wisdom, absorption, and ultimately love, the goal of yoga. But along with that, all along, Krishna is going to be describing those different stages of progression. But all along, he's going to be stressing something else, and we can call that the Krishna factor. That for a devotee of Krishna, the one who brings their mind and their heart to him directly, that he personally gets involved, and he can transform your mind and transform your heart and transform your life quickly and effectively, because you brought it right to him, who's the root of all existence. And so we get a verse like that here in text 61, where Krishna says, one who restrains their senses, keeping them under full control. Okay, that's all, across the board, that's important in yoga and Vedanta. And then he says, and fixes his consciousness upon me. Yukta asita mat paraha. Yukta means like connecting, right? The word yoga comes from that root, yuj or yukta. Like the English word yoke, like where you have two oxen and then you have that wooden piece that is called the yoke that connects two things, connecting. Yukta asita mat paraha. And connecting by mat paraha, by fixing your consciousness upon me. He says, that person is known as a person of steady intelligence, right? One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes their consciousness upon me is known as a person of steady intelligence. You're asking how it's done, Arjuna. This is how it's done. Fix your mind on me, right? Very important point. We're going to see this Krishna factor come up throughout the Bhagavad Gita. So the next question then is, how does he, well, this was the question of how does he sit, and now, this goes to how he walks, actually. How does he move through the world? If you can keep your focus on Krishna and regulate your senses, you can move through this world very peacefully, like a wise person. Let's go to text 64. Raga dvesha vimuktais letting go of attachment and aversion, and then controlling the senses. Krishna will say, a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles, through vidyatma, through the regulations of yoga. Here Prabhupada translates it as the regulative principles of freedom, right? Once you can control your senses through the yogic regulations, you're free from their controlling you, right? So he says, but a person free from all attachment and aversion, I'm not controlled by what the senses like and what they don't like, and able to control the senses through regulative principles of freedom, can obtain prasadam. Right? You may be familiar with this word because we talk about food that's been offered to God. We call it prasadam. It means the mercy, the grace. Prasadam adhigachati. They can attain the prasadam of Krishna. They can attain the prasadam of the Lord. They can get the grace of the Lord. This is how they move through life, right? I've let go of, I'm not controlled by my senses' attachments, what it wants, and its aversions, what it doesn't want. I have my senses under control and focused on Krishna. I attain his mercy and I become a powerful yogi through that mercy, right? What I would have such a struggle to attain on my own, so much difficulty, so much austerity, so much time, many lifetimes. I'm getting that through Krishna's grace. And then I'm moving through this world in that way. And there's a lot of beautiful verses here. Let me just read a few more to wrap this up for today. Let's read text 66. One who is not connected in the Supreme, right, who's not yukta, can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there's no possibility of peace. Arjuna, you want peace, right? How can there be any happiness without peace? And then text 71, or even text 70, beautiful analogy here. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is always being filled but remains still, that person alone can achieve peace, and not the person who strives to satisfy such desires. The ocean has lots of rivers pouring into it, but it never overflows. It stays steady. In the same way, we may have desires, we let them flow, but we don't become changed by them. And then in text 71, a person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship and is devoid of all false ego, that person alone can achieve peace. Right? Beautiful verses, attaining the stage of wisdom. If we can achieve this, we'll be able to meditate deeply. If we can't achieve this, our mind will always be disturbed. Okay, please enjoy the rest of the second chapter, and tomorrow we get into the exciting other topics in the third chapter. Thank you so much. Hari Om. Tat Sat.